Hello everyone, welcome to our YouTube channel ABAP Seniors. In today's video, we will be discussing about AMDP in detail with implementation. In our previous video, we have discussed about what is AMDP and how it looks like and how it differs from the normal class. All these theory topic we have discussed. Now, today we will be implementing an AMDP so that we will be getting more about AMDP. So for that, let me create one ABAP class. We already know that a normal class can be AMDP class by just adding some other extra artifacts or some other objects. So this is my AMDP class. So one thing I would like to add here is we have discussed that by addition of one interface, we can make the class as AMDP class. So that interface is if underscore AMDP marker HTTP. While creating the class, you can directly add it by clicking on add if underscore AMDP. So it came automatically since I was working with this AMDP. You can just search and get that one and click enter. So it will be adding directly to your class instead of writing it manually. If you forget, no problem, you can write it manually while writing the code in your class. I'm clicking on finish. Now my class is created. If you observe here, the interfaces is added with the interface name. So this we have added while creating the class, so it came automatically. If you have missed or if you forgot, you can just add it here in the public section, because interfaces we can add it in the public section only if you know the concepts of OOPS. Interfaces will only be available in the public section. So we have to add it manually here, and we have the definition, and this class is mentioned as final. That means you cannot inherit this class. This is also the concept of OOPS. So now let us declare one method. We can declare either static or instance method. For now I am declaring a instance method. Get top or D. I am passing some value which is iv underscore value type I, and I want to get some data. Exporting et underscore order data. So for this I will create the types quickly. We can just declare it over here. I want VBLN. I will get some data from VBAK and some other tables. I want VTWC and I want amount also. and I want one more field which is customer. Now let us define it over here. I will define it with this LT underscore ORD. Let me make it as TT because it is not an internal table. So I have defined one importing parameter and one exporting parameter. So it is giving one error, implementation missing for method get TOP ORD. So yes, we have just defined the method, we have not implemented it. So for implementing the method automatically, you have one way, like just put the cursor on this method name and do control 1. Then we will be having these details. Add implementation for get top orders. So this, it is asking itself whether we have to implement this method. So I'm just clicking on it. So it has added the method implementation automatically. My method is added, the implementation for the method, and now I'm not getting any errors because by simply adding this interface if underscore AMDP marker HDB, it won't make you the class as an AMDP class. Maybe for some other purpose also we will be using this interface. So we cannot say that by just seeing the definition of the class, we cannot say it is an AMDP class. By seeing the method implementation, we can say that it is an AMDP class or not. So we have some things to be written while implementing the method in AMDP class. We have discussed in our previous video also in our theory part. We have to give by database. Since it is a procedure, we have to give it as procedure. Just press on tab, it will give all the things whatever are displaying for you by database procedure. And for HANA database language, SQL script, options, read only, using, since I have to fetch the data from VBAK, I'm using VBAK. Now, okay, we are getting some other error here. We will see it later. Let us just understand the code whatever we have written. First, we are telling that this is a database procedure, not a function. In AMDP, we have database procedures and functions. So we are telling that this is a database procedure and it is for HANA database, for HDB, HANA database. We are telling that this is a database procedure and it is for HANA database, and the language we are using is SQL script, and this options read only we can use or not, it will be upon you in terms of database procedures only, because in database procedure you can do the write, modify, delete all the operations. So you can just comment ignore this one. But if you are only reading the data using the AMDP procedure, then it will be like a best practice to include this one. But in terms of database function, it should be there, because in table function we can't do the write operations. It should be always read only. That is one of the difference. And after that we have to give using. So whatever the tables or database procedures or some other CDFUs we are using inside this method, we have to mention it over here after using. If you want some other thing like VBAP also, you can just mention VBAK, VBAP like that. Now I don't want this VBAP. Okay, I got the data from, I have mentioned this using with VBAK. Now I am getting one more error here, which is the parameter IV value of the AMDP method cannot be defined as a reference parameter. Here we are passing the reference. So one thing you have to keep in mind is we should not pass the reference in AMDP, because these will be running directly in the database, and the reference it will be applicable available in our application layer. So you can't pass the reference directly in your AMDP. So you have to pass the value. For that, just do value. So that means we are passing the value instead of reference. And the same thing over here also. For exporting parameter value, this is the value I'm getting instead of reference. Okay. Now our error is resolved from here and it came here. So let us see what error we are getting. The body of an AMDP method cannot be empty. So we have just implemented the method, but we have not written a single line of code in the method implementation. That is not permitted in our AMDP. In regular OOPS concept, we can just define the method with null implementation, but it is not allowed in terms of AMDP. So you have to write the code. Now let me write the code. Now what I will do is I will get the top 10 sales orders, or like whatever the value we are passing, that many top sales orders along with this data I will be getting. So how we have to get this? Select what are the fields we have mentioned, VBLN and VTWC, and what is the field? NETWR, Kunnar from VBAK. And one more thing is, if you observe here, we are writing the code in SQL script. Let us see like how this is different from our normal ABAP programming. Into, I don't want to do join at the rate of, need to write into table here, into table at the rate of, we don't need because we are having some internal table which is the exporting parameter. But if you observe here, I'm getting one error. SQL script, SQL syntax error, incorrect syntax near full stop. Okay, let me replace with semicolon. Now we are getting an error. Table is unknown. So this syntax won't be valid in your AMDP. So how you have to do is, you have to pass the data. Okay, first let me close this one. From VBAK I'm closing. Okay, here it is giving that we are not using that table. Our table variable is not assigned. Et underscore ord data. So whatever we are fetching, directly we are passing to this internal table. This is how you have to write. So whatever we have mentioned, like we have to get the data based on the value we are giving. In that IV value, that means if you are giving IV value as 5, top 5 sales orders you have to get. So how you have to get is, that is based on our field NETWR amount. So we are using order by NETWR. Then we will be passing that IV value as an where condition. And this order by NETWR, we have to get it in the descending order because it should be top values. And limit IV underscore value. So I am limiting these values to whatever we are passing here. And we are ordering by NETWR in descending order. If you want the least sales order numbers, you have to just replace this descending with ascending. You can do that way. Okay, this is activated now. Now I can consume this AMDP in a report program also. Let us see how we can do that. File, new, other, and I will search for program. So I have created one report program, and let me give one parameter so that we are passing that value. Type I, and I have to create an object since it is a instance method. We cannot directly access. So I am creating LO underscore obj equal to new L. We can just give this class name, and so that our reference and object will be created. My object is ready. Now I will be calling this method. If you observe, now I am getting my method. Just I will just do shift enter. It will come up like this. And exporting, you have to give the values. P underscore count I am giving. And importing, I want to return it here. Something called as LT underscore ORD data. I'm just returning it here and I'm saving my report and activating this. Now let us run our report program. And one more thing I have missed here is this AMDP is a client independent one. If you are executing it on 100 client, it will get all the client for that, like you have 3 clients for a particular system. Even though you are executing in one client, it will get the data from all the 3 clients. Like that it will happen. So how you have to do is you can just import it here. Value MANDT, which is IV underscore MANDT. So that if you are consuming it some other place, it will ask you for the client. And here I can just define that one since we have missed over here, or we can do just refresh and get that method again. Now I'm giving it a SciMANDT, the current client, so that it will get the results for only current client only. Now our report is also activated. Let me run this report. I have made it as running it as ABAP application. Count to I'm giving. Okay. So it is not retrieving any result since we have just called it. And we are not displaying this data. Let us check this way. Is not initial. Display. Okay, now I have included some code for displaying this one. Now let me just run it again. Okay, there is some, I think it is not responding. So we can see the output in some other video. Before that, I will just walk you through some of the important points and the advantages of AMDP and when we have to go with the AMDP. So let us go here. So these are the AMDP features. AMDP method can be either instance or static. So we have created an instance AMDP method here. Can create your static AMDP method as well. And second one is we can declare AMDP method in any visibility section. If you observe, like we have declared that AMDP method in the public section now, but we can do it in protected or private based on our need. It has the flexibility to declare in any visibility section. And we have just defined one importing parameter and exporting parameter apart from the client, but we have not used the returning parameter. And this returning parameter is also not allowed in our AMDP. We can use the changing, but this returning is not allowed. Client handling does not apply, which means it is a client independent. Yes, client handling doesn't apply automatically. That means we have to take care of the client handling. So we have to very careful when creating an AMDP. We are maintaining the client field in definition of a method. The parameter has to be declared using value. This we have seen. If you observe, we got one error while implementing, like we cannot use the reference. And only transparent database tables, views, or AMDP methods can be specified after using. Here, after this using, we can only give database tables, views, or AMDP methods, but functions like some standard functions we cannot give over here. And this one also we have seen, like we cannot do the null implementation in AMDP. And one more thing is we cannot do the write operations when buffering is active for a particular table. For the other tables, we can do the write operations in AMDP, but when buffering is active, it is not allowed. If you don't know about buffering, I have created video on buffering and types of buffering explained in a detailed way. Please go and watch that one so that you will understand what buffering means. And we don't have implicit enhancement options available, even though it is a database one, like we are writing the code on the database, we don't have that implicit enhancement options. And these statements like commit and rollback, these are not allowed in our AMDP. We should not write these commit and rollback statements. So when we have to use the AMDP, large volume data operations are handled directly in the database to minimize data movement. So we have huge amount of data and we have to fetch the data, and we will be doing the processing, and again we will be fetching the data from the database. At that particular point of time, the performance will be compromised. So at that time, we can use the AMDP so that we can minimize the amount of data which we are transferring to the application layer. And second point is complex calculations beyond ABAP SQL. So if we have any complex calculations and using AMDP, we can do it in a single AMDP method or single AMDP class, then it is advised to go with the AMDP. And one more is pushing logic to the database. So if we want to push the data and the logic, whatever we are doing, which are very complex, then we will be going with the AMDP. Like we are joining the tables and we are merging, like processing the data, again we are filtering the data, again based on that filtration we will be fetching the data again from the database. Those type of things we can go with the AMDP. When we don't want to go with AMDP means, if you have CDS views approach is very much feasible and you can do it by CDS views, then just go with the CDS views. We don't need AMDP in that case. And some of the disadvantages of AMDP, like we have very limited integration features. Like in CDS views, we can just integrate the OData service using one annotation, which is OData published true. This one also we have discussed in our previous video. So if you don't know how we can do that or achieve that, please to watch that video. And security gaps. So since it is directly running in the database, we have to double check whether if we are applying any authorization, it is applying correctly or it is taking to that authorization code. And one more thing is AMDPs are designed for SAP HANA, and it is not portable to other databases currently. And code readability. Since we are using SQL script and it looks like a combination of our normal SQL, open SQL, and with the SQL script, like some of the things are similar, some things we have the difference. So maybe in terms of code readability, it will be difficult to understand and to maintain. These are some disadvantages of AMDP. So in this video, we have seen about AMDP and its features, and we have implemented an AMDP method also. Hope this content is useful to you. Please do like, share and subscribe to this channel for more interesting content.